A radar suddenly showed a nuclear warhead streaking toward the United States at Mach 10. What stunned the military experts was that they could not trace where the warhead had been launched from. North Korea, the Eastern Power, even Russia, all were eerily calm. Striking back rashly could trigger a global nuclear war. The warhead had only 19 minutes until impact, and the country immediately moved to Level 2 readiness. The top priority was to intercept the warhead in mid-air. As the silos opened, two of the most advanced land-based interceptors were launched. They were expected to meet the warhead in about 3 minutes. Inside the White House Strategic Command, the scene was already chaos. To prevent a total governmental collapse after a strike, the Continuity Office called General Miller and several senior officials would shelter in the presidential bunker. Operational command in Strategic Command had been placed in Olivia's hands. Elsewhere, one interceptor reached its planned intercept orbit. An explosion of that magnitude would release 1 billion joules of heat, enough to vaporize missiles within 10 kilometers. But the blip on the radar remained. The first interceptor had clearly failed. Fortunately, there was a backup. Everyone pinned their hopes on the second interceptor.
3, 2, 1.
Faces turned to one another in disbelief. The nation's land-based interceptors numbered fewer than 50 and were scattered around the globe. That meant they could not deal with this warhead from outside U.S. territory. In the next second, the entire United States went to Level 1 readiness. The warhead reached its apex and began its dive, then shifted its target to flat ground. Orbital calculations showed the warhead would fall on Chicago, a metropolis of 10 million, with a conservative estimate of 5 million casualties. Watching the countdown on the screen, many soldiers began contacting their families to leave final messages. They understood that a third world war was now all but inevitable. At the same time, Strategic Command finally reached Russia and North Korea, but both denied involvement. China, however, could not be contacted. After all, it had just held a massive military parade displaying weapons that might be impossible to intercept. The president issued a final order. If the warhead landed, the U.S. must retaliate against other nuclear states. Better to kill wrongly than to let any go unpunished. Olivia understood what that meant. Desperate, she called her husband and told him to drive out of the city as fast as possible and take their son to the most remote place they could find.